I'm Ryan from ExtremeTerrain.com, and this is my review of the RedRock 4x4 full-width front bumper with stinger and winch mount, fitting all 2007 and up JKs. Today we're going to talk through the installation of this bumper, which is going to be a fairly simple 1 out of 3 wrench install that should only take you about an hour, but we'll talk more about the installation in just a second. We're also going to talk through the construction and a few of the features of this bumper. This bumper is going to be for those of you who want to replace your factory plastic front bumper for one that's going to offer more protection as well as some additional features and a more off-road look. Now, because this bumper does have a lot going on, there's a lot of steel, these wings are very large, it has a big stinger, this is going to be a little bit more of a love it or hate it front bumper. This isn't going to be a, nah, I kind of like that. You're either going to really like this look or you're not. For those of you who do really like this look, it's going to offer a lot of protection, a really bold look on the front of your Jeep. In my opinion, this reminds me very much of the European style JK front bumper, where the wings of the bumper came up to meet the fenders. These don't come all the way up to meet the fenders, but you do have this very tall, pronounced corner on the bumper. Of course, you have your winch mount, you have your stinger, you have your D-ring mounts as well. The only thing that this bumper doesn't have is factory fog light mounts, but it does have a spot for other auxiliary lights should you choose to mount them. Now, because this is a lot of steel, this is going to be sort of an expensive bumper. It's not going to be as much as the top of the top line full width front bumper, but it is going to be more expensive than a stubbier front bumper that uses less material. This bumper comes out of the box in a total of 4 different pieces plus the D-rings. So it has this center section, which is really more of a stubby bumper, the corners that you bolt onto those, and then of course the stinger here as well. But it's important to note that this is not a modular front bumper in the way that, say, a Rugged Ridge XHD bumper is. You can't buy this base and then buy the stinger or the corners or have different corner options or different hoop options. This is simply designed to be in 4 different pieces, but it is not a truly modular bumper. Now, all of these flat steel stock pieces are made of 5/32 inch steel, which helps to keep the weight down a little bit, but as you can see, there is a lot of mass here. This is not going to be a lightweight front bumper. The stinger is made of 0.12 inch wall thickness steel, and the whole thing is covered in a 2-stage textured black powder coat finish, which is going to help resist rust and corrosion, as well as helping it to match a lot of other off-road accessories and those factory plastic black accents that are already on your JK. As far as features go, as I said before, this does have a stinger on it. Now, the initial purpose of a stinger was if you're coming down off of a very steep obstacle and you're about to flip forward, that the stinger hits the ground first and directs you to one side or the other, keeping you on all 4 wheels. Or if you were to roll your Jeep, the stinger was supposed to be tall enough to protect the core support so you don't crush your radiator ending your day. This stinger is very much a visual mod. It is going to help to brush branches and trees and shrubs out of the way if you're running a very narrow trail, but this is just bolted on, it's not welded on, it doesn't have any gussets, it's not going to offer a lot of protection in a rollover scenario. Some of the other features that are on this bumper, of course, you have a built-in winch mount that's rated for 12,000 pounds, so you're going to be able to put a nice big heavy winch on there. Even if you have a big heavy 4-door JK, you of course have your built-in fairlead mount, and this does give the winch a little bit of that sunken look. The winch mount sits down a little bit. You're still going to see some of the drum up over the top, but it does give a fairly clean look. Now, you do have 2 D-ring mounts that are welded directly through and bolt directly into the frame horns on the other side, giving you a really strong connection point. That's really useful for those snatch strap recoveries, or even if you do have a winch, you want to be able to go to a snatch block and back to your Jeep again, essentially doubling the pulling power of your Jeep. You have those D-ring mounts accessible. Along the front, you do have some holes drilled. That's really more for style, helps to keep the weight down a little bit. They're not fog light mounting holes, although if you wanted to get really creative, I'm sure you could figure a way to mount some auxiliary lights in there. So we hit pretty much all of the features of this bumper, aside from these big corners here, which isn't really a feature, it's really more of a styling cue, but it is what makes this bumper so different from a lot of the other bumpers on the market, and it will definitely set you apart from some of the others. Now, if you are running a big tire chances are this big corner is probably going to get in the way for you if you're doing some flexing off-road and you have 37s or larger. In that case, I'd probably steer you toward a stubby bumper. This is going to be for those of you that have a little bit of a smaller tire and are still looking for that end-to-end protection. Even though this bumper does come out of the box in 4 different pieces, it's still going to be a very simple 1 out of 3 wrench installation that you can get done in right around an hour's time. The first step is, of course, removing your factory front bumper, which you'll do by removing first the splash shield if you still have one, then frame cover up top, and then you can go ahead and unbolt the 4 bolts on either side that are holding that bumper in place and simply remove it from the Jeep. The next step is going to be assembling this bumper. Now, I would recommend bolting the corners onto the center section and the stinger onto the center section, as well as installing your winch if you plan on running one before putting this on the Jeep. You can certainly get to the bolts for the stinger very easily because they're right up on top, and for the corners while the center section is mounted on the Jeep, but I personally think it makes it easier. You can get behind it, get everything torqued down, get it tightened down how you want it, and then install the whole bumper as one solid piece. Now, this bumper weighs about 130 pounds, and if you're gonna bolt a winch onto it, you can be closer to 200, so you're definitely going to need a hand getting the bumper onto the frame rails, but that is going to be the way that I would recommend installing it. Once you do have this hoisted up onto those frame rails, you can use the included hardware to get it bolted down, and then simply attach your D-rings and you're finished. If you are running a winch, of course, you'll have to do a little bit of wiring at that point. As I said before, 1 out of 3 wrench installation, you can get it done in about an hour, and all you're going to need are your traditional hand tools to get this installed. As I said before, this is a big, chunky, heavy bumper. This has a lot of steel, so you would expect it to be more expensive than some of the other bumpers on the market. And it is. This comes in at right around $600. Now, at the same time, it's not going to have the price tag of a top-of-the-line ARB full-width front bumper with all of its features. So this is going to be a little bit of a balance there. If you like this look, you're not going to be able to get it in a lot of different places. This is definitely a unique style. So if you like the look, you like the features, you have the budget, I think it's a well-built bumper, and I would recommend taking a further look at it. So if you're looking to swap out the factory front bumper on your JK, you like the idea of a big, chunky, statement-making bumper, and you don't mind adding a little bit of weight to the front of your Jeep, this is going to be a well-built and easy-to-install option. So that's my review of the RedRock 4x4 full-width front bumper with stinger and winch mount, fitting all 2007 and up JKs that you can find right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.